rounding third with home plate in sight. But even the best players need a coach to wave them in. Safe! Welcome to Perfect Game Retirement, hosted by Ryan Ledden, former pro baseball player, University of Georgia economics graduate, and now certified financial planner with Black Oak Asset Management. He's here to guide you through the final stretch and help you slide safely into a winning retirement. Play ball!
Welcome in. Glad to have you right here on Perfect Game Retirement. I am Ben George. I am joined, as always, by Ryan Ledden, who is president and financial coach and a certified financial planner. You'll find him at Black Oak Asset Management. The offices there in Alpharetta, Macon, Lawrenceville, serving the entire Atlanta area and beyond. And we're glad to have you with us today as we have a couple of good topics we're going to run through on today's show. We're going to start off in just a bit on safe money. What does that mean? How do you define that? How much should you be holding in your portfolio? We'll also open up the mailbag. 3 great questions today that I think we'll touch on, maybe a topic that you've maybe been interested in, curious about, but ultimately we want to kind of work through that with Ryan and give you a peek inside his planning process at Black Oak Asset Management. So Ryan, without further ado, welcome in. How are you?
Yeah, good to be here, man. This I guess it's been about a week since I've been home, so a little bit better rested. But the road ahead, travels ahead are coming up. So we got so we're middle of July right now. So into this month we'll have a trip to Houston, which will be my son for the AAU national track meet, and then I'll be heading to California for my daughter's last tournament of the summer for softball. So I have dad guilt. So I'm going to go out with my daughter to California and then literally take 2 days. And I've kind of timed it where hopefully he's in the finals of these events that he's in, the 100, 200, and 400, that I'll fly from LA to Houston for a couple days and then fly back. It's psychotic and weird, but yeah. I don't want to miss it.
And these days aren't going to last forever, right? So
that's right.
These summers are crazy now, but you'll look back on them and I know you'll have a lot of great memories, and hopefully he'll have another great appearance and performance at Nationals. I know he's had some good ones in the past. So does he still get pretty excited about it? Still nervous quite a bit?
He does. It's I think a little bit of pressure is building up on him, and I think a lot of that is self-induced. I try to keep these things in perspective because, again, track is a sport I never participated in, so I have a little bit of I don't know what the right word is, kind of carefree, not as much as like football and baseball. I'm kind of like, oh, we got to do this. And track, I'm like, I know he needs to do stuff, but it's kind of on him. But track practice I've never heard of a kid go, yes, I got track practice tonight. and so that's starting to wear on him a little bit, I think, the grind of it. But man, it's tough. So I admire all those kids that are out there on his club team. But it is, and I tell him, I'm like, it ain't just about this track season. Like this is a mental test. So when you do get those football pads on and it's 100 degrees and you're like, yeah, this is nothing. I've been through this. Or, it's just, it's makes him mentally strong, whether he loves track or not. It just, track translates to every sport because of what they do and the explosiveness and the agility. Anyway, so it's an awesome sport to do. I wish I'd have done it, but that's way in the past. So I'm just fortunate to maybe jog again one day after my knee replacement.
Well, best of luck to you, and best of luck to him as he gets ready to compete again. But hopefully we'll hear some good results here in the next couple of weeks. All right, let's jump into today's topic. Again, as we do, I want to always remind you, retireperfect.com. Jot that down, retireperfect.com. There you'll find the opportunity to schedule a time to meet with Ryan. It's a free consultation, a time to talk over your financial picture, get a better sense of your goals for retirement, where you're headed, how you want to get there, and begin talking through that process with Black Oak Asset Management. Just go to retireperfect.com to do so. All right, so safe money. This is, I know, something that, in a volatile world, which, we live in, and there's been plenty of that here in 2025. We're in the middle of it with everything in the Middle East that's been happening. I know that everybody kind of has a different definition of safe money as it relates to their savings. So what are some different ways that you see people defining safe money when they talk to you about it?
Yeah, there's a whole spectrum for this. And it goes to, some people have giant safes in their house and they keep hard cash at home. I've had clients tell me that they have cash in a fireproof safe. I've heard they have actual precious metals, diamonds. So you name it. That's kind of their safe money. Now, when it comes to precious metals and diamonds, like those aren't very liquid because you have to find a buyer for those things. So it's not like a quick turnaround like hard cash that is sitting in a fireproof safe that you just take out and use. But yeah, I've had clients ask me, hey, can I invest this? And I'm like, nope. It's got to go to a financial institution first before it even comes to us. So, but yeah, for some people that's safe money. For some people, it's just having it in their checking account up to the FDIC insurance. And some of my clients have way more than the FDIC insurance. So it may make sense to spread some of that money around to other financial institutions. And then, some have CDs, some have just glorified savings accounts or money market accounts. So that kind of whole spectrum is what some people consider safe money. So just everyone's got a different opinion on that and what means safe money to them. And we hold safe money for people too, of how we work with people, because there's plenty of money market mutual funds out there that are, paying a decent yield. That's the silver lining of interest rates being higher, is that quote unquote safe money is paying a little bit more. I know everybody remembers, 4 or 5 years ago before interest rates went up. I mean, CDs and treasuries, they were paying nothing. They were terrible. So more people put their money into the stock market. So maybe they were taking on more risk than they wanted to, or it was just sitting in their checking account and inflation was kind of chewing it up. So anyway, that definition can vary, but those are kind of the general terms of what people think that safe money is.
Well, then how would you define it when you think of safe money and you're discussing it? What do you have in mind?
Yeah, so my definition of it is, always keep, no matter what the yield or interest that it is paying, you always want to keep a decent chunk just sitting in your checking account where it's a click of a button. Then above and beyond that, so that's kind of your just quote unquote operating expense of your family. And then you need to have whatever your bank provides or credit union provides, if it's a savings account or a money market account, that can be liquid in 1 day's time, or maybe even instantaneously, because it's going from a savings account to a checking account internally within that institution. That money is still considered safe money to me. But I would even say money that you can access in 2 days is still accessible. So when I say 2 days, because we use Charles Schwab as our custodian, so they have some funds out there that pay a decent yield. Well, but you can't just click a button and move that money over to your checking account. It takes a day to liquidate and then the next day to send it to them. So I still consider that safe money, and you can earn a decent yield on that as well. So my definition is something you can get to either instantly or up to 2 days' time.
Talk about safe money here on Perfect Game Retirement with Ryan Ledden at Black Oak Asset Management. Remember, you can sit down and discuss your strategies for investing and how much safe money you need to have by going to retireperfect.com and scheduling that free consultation with Ryan. Again, retireperfect.com is the best place to start with that. Now, when you look at this, Ryan, do most people have an accurate understanding of how much safety and risk they have in their portfolio? Do they have a good grasp of that?
Most of the time, no. If they work with us, yes, because we go over that every time we have their review meetings, or just whenever they want to meet. We go over kind of what their risk portfolio or their standard deviation of their portfolio is. And we always say, like, hey, we're still in that standard deviation realm that you're comfortable with. Here's your downside, here's your upside. And then obviously the more quote unquote safe money you have, it pulls that volatility number down. So it makes it more secure. So you can still have very, very aggressive investments inside of an account, but you may also have safe investments inside that account. And that kind of pulls that standard deviation. It tightens that standard deviation. So it's okay to still take on risk with some of your investments, but then have some that are relatively safe depending on your risk capacity or risk tolerance that you want to have. So again, we mentioned on previous shows, like fixed index annuities or whole life insurance. That's a very quote unquote safe account where your money's not going to go backwards. Now there's some internal fees and all that kind of stuff. And whole life insurance has cost of insurance. So it takes a while for that cash value to build up, but it's not real like super liquid either. So safe money to me is being able to have it accessible very, very quickly and not go down in value Whereas whole life insurance or like insurance products or annuities, they can be safe, but they're not extremely liquid. You may have to pay a surrender charge or whatever that may be. So, but people, and you want to calculate their risk by a whole pie, like put everything together, not just this one account or this one account or this one account. Put it all together and see what that risk is, and that gives you a better understanding of your whole portfolio of what it's doing.
Why do you think people don't have a great understanding of that, Ryan, or maybe misinformed about the safety of their savings? Because that's something you want to get right.
Yeah, it definitely is. And so there's, we talked about credit unions and banks having FDIC insurance, and, those limits are, thank goodness they moved it up to $250,000. It wasn't that long ago. It was $100,000. And that's for a lot of people, that's not difficult to get to. So, and most of the time, large institutions aren't going to go under. Have they in the past? Yeah, sure. There's been large institutions fold and go under. But as far as the banking systems go, you can title accounts in different names, like in your name or you and your spouse's name, and then you can do it at another institution. So each one of those is going to provide some safety with their savings, but when it comes to their investments as well, a lot of people just don't know how much risk they are taking on. It may be a household name of a stock, but it still has a risk score up in the 90s, and that may be like, well, they've been around forever, but true, but it still means you're taking on a good bit of risk. So having the planning software that we do just really allows to see what the potential of these investments can be. Obviously, there's no guarantee moving forward, but historically, what have they done? And each investment does have a score, and it kind of gives you an idea of what that standard deviation is going to be. So I just, some people just don't, I don't think they have a full understanding of how much risk they are taking on or not taking on.
Well, take us through then into the planning process a little bit here. And I know you're going to have people on both sides, some that are way too safe and then some that don't have enough safety at all. I'm looking more at the latter here. Give me an example of a client maybe that needed more safety in their portfolio. How were they allocated that made it seem that they were maybe taking on too much risk? And then what kind of changes did you suggest?
Yeah, so that's where I can think of one good one right off the bat because I talked to them just recently. And they have a good bit of single stock investing, which again is fine if people have that capacity to take it on and the tolerance to take it on, then I'm okay with it. But that's where as they age and progress older, maybe that single stock or several single stocks have produced maybe unbelievable great returns. But okay, now we kind of got house money, if you will, on the table. And how do we take some of that off and protect? Okay, so it's done way better than we anticipated, and your rates of return are way higher. And usually when we do a long-term income plan, we use pretty conservative rates of return, just because we don't want to paint a false future. Because if you use too high of a rate of return, it looks crazy. It's like, there's no way that's going to happen like that. So you want to build out these Monte Carlo simulations where there's ups and downs in the market. But yeah, how do we say, okay, this is way above what we anticipated, so let's take some of this off and maybe create a safer portfolio or even a guaranteed income. Maybe that means dumping a bunch of money into a guaranteed annuity for the rest of your life, and that pays you forever. It's like, okay, well, maybe so, but that's where we have to really educate people. If they just love those returns, just say, well, these may not be the returns forever. Maybe they will, but we have to be okay with taking some of that off the table and creating something safer that it's not going to keep up with the rates of return, but it's also not going to have the volatility, and it may produce a guaranteed income for you for the rest of your life. So that's where an advisor comes in, and they may not want to do that, and that's okay. But at least it gives them like something to think about and go, okay, that makes sense. Maybe not now, maybe later, or yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So it's just an understanding of where people are at, how they got there, and what can we do to benefit from these big gains that we've had before to maybe make things safer.
And again, this is what that free consultation will talk through this and much more. Get a better sense of your financial picture, get a, kind of evaluate and begin that evaluation of where you stand, and you can do that at retireperfect.com. There's a button right there, free consultation. Click it. You'll find a time to pick out on Ryan's schedule that works for you, and you'll be off and running. And that's a great place to start, Ryan, for anyone that maybe don't even really know where they want to start. This first conversation kind of starts easing you into that process and getting a better sense of maybe what it's going to take to get to retirement.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I like these 15 to 20 minute kind of introductory type calls, because they can go in so many different directions, and some people know exactly what they want to say and ask, and then some people don't. So if they don't, then I ask usually very, very open-ended general questions, and as soon as you get people talking, then it just kind of flows from there. But I don't put pressure on people to ask them how much they have. I've never asked that questions. If they volunteer that up, okay, that's up to you. If the conversation goes well and we do get into a longer, in-depth, in-person meeting or Zoom call, then yeah, some of those numbers need to be portrayed and talked about, and because expectations of retirement looks like and when they can retire and how much they can retire on, that's a part of the planning process. So we'll get into the more specifics of that, but usually in that 15 to 20 minute intro call, we're just trying to find out if people want help and need help and are looking for that, as opposed to, just kind of testing the waters. And that's okay, that for that first call, but we can usually tell pretty quick if people are really interested or if they're not. And again, that's where that 15-minute phone call is. We don't want to waste our time or your time by having in-person meetings with people and then find out after an hour, like, okay, this person's not a fit, because you can usually tell on that first introductory call if it's a two-way street of a fit, and then from there we just we get more detailed and kind of iron out what those next steps look like if people do work with us.
All right, very good. We'll go to retireperfect.com. Again, you can jot down the website now, visit it later, but either way, take advantage of that opportunity to talk with Ryan and the team there at Black Oak Asset Management by going to retireperfect.com. All right, we're going to open up the mailbag. 3 great questions that came in that we want to tackle with Ryan. That's coming up next.
Love what you're hearing on Perfect Game Retirement? Well, now you can take Ryan Ledden's financial wisdom on the go with the Perfect Game Retirement video podcast. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and it's an extension of the advice you trust on demand and anytime you need it. From retirement strategies to tackling taxes and everything in between, Ryan's podcast dives deeper into the topics that matter most to your financial future. Subscribe today and never miss an episode. Search for Perfect Game Retirement on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts and start building your perfect retirement plan. Or you can visit retireperfect.com. That's retireperfect.com.
You're listening to Perfect Game Retirement. We're here every single week talking about retirement planning, financial planning, trying to educate you and inform you as best we can. We do that, as always, with Ryan Ledden at Black Oak Asset Management. You also, from listening to this show, have the opportunity to get your hands on Ryan's book, which he has put together. He did not plug it in AI and spit out results for a book. He actually sat down and put this all together, Diffuse the Retirement Threats, which is available right there at retireperfect.com.
I mean, AI has made it kind of sickening and I say that in humor of what it can do. But no, we put this together and we actually wrote it, and it took some time. And then you look and see, hey, AI, write a book on blah, 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 blah. And then it spits out, it's like, oh my gosh. Anyway, so we did put this together. We added stories that I've experienced in my time as an advisor, and put action steps to it, and then kind of maybe the boring data that has to go with it, but then the story and then the how-to or the action steps that you need to take. So there's a bunch of different threats, if you will, to people's retirement. There are several, and we go over each one in pretty in depth. So yeah, request the book. We're happy to send it out. We just need a name, address, email. That way we can stay in contact with you afterwards, because we do some follow-up. And if you don't want follow-up, it's okay. You can unsubscribe and say, no thanks. Totally fine. It's okay. So we have these kits made. We got the books in there. We got several PDFs, bounded PDFs that are more additional information on legacy planning and long-term care and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great kit. We're proud of it. But yeah, all you got to do is go to the site, Retire Perfect, and put your information in there, request a kit, and we'll send it out. We got a bunch of them made sitting in one of our extra offices here in Alpharetta, and we'll ship it out as soon as we can.
You will find information on that book and retirement toolkit right there. Again, retireperfect.com. Go ahead and get your hands on that today. All right, open it up the mailbag to get a few questions here. 3 good ones that came in. I'm going to throw them your way, and we'll work through these scenarios, Ryan. And we'll start off with one from Johnny in Roswell. It says, I just found out that my advisor's been charging me an annual fee to manage my assets, but apparently also makes commissions on a lot of the transactions within my portfolio. I'm not necessarily mad about it, but if there's a more efficient way to do this, I'd be interested to hear what that is.
So that's a great question. So yeah, obviously advisors have to make money. That's where transparency on the front end. If it's an annual fee that's kind of broken up per month or per quarter to manage a portfolio, but then commissions on top of the transactions. I mean, again, I don't know the firm and how they're structured, but you shouldn't have to pay commissions on top of that. It's either usually one or the other. I know we're more of a assets under management annual fee, or even a fee only up front, depending on how people want to work with us. But we're not charging commissions on stuff like that on trades. The only time we earn commissions is if we sell a Medicare policy or a life insurance policy or an annuity or a long-term care policy. Those pay commissions because that comes directly from the insurance or annuity company. So I would question it, like you say, not necessarily mad at it, but there is a more efficient way. Of course, the most efficient way from a cost perspective is to do it on your own. Does that mean you should do it on your own? I'm not saying that because there's a cost to using an advisor. But if you have a comprehensive advisor who's covering all these things that we talk about on here, when it comes to tax planning and investment planning, retirement income planning, insurance planning, that should be all a part of it. So I would question it. It's okay. They shouldn't get defensive if you just ask them about it. So there is a more efficient way. The commissions probably don't need to be charged. I'm not, again, sure how the structure of that company is, but if there's an annual fee, then usually commissions shouldn't be a part of that, but you can ask.
Yeah, these are great questions to be asking for sure, and I'm glad that you asked that one for us, Johnny. And again, this is kind of the thing to be asking when you meet with someone for the first time. Like if you sit down with Black Oak Asset Management, you can schedule that free consultation at retireperfect.com. This is a great thing to ask. How do you get paid? What do those fee structures look like? Because it is different from firm to firm. So great question there, Johnny. All right, Pam in Dunwoody, here's what she's curious about. I heard someone mention how important it is to start Social Security at the right time. How does it matter that much? I understand that your benefit gets a little bit bigger each year that you put it off, but other than that, why is this such a nuanced decision?
It is. I mean, some of the nuances have been cut from the federal government. The file and suspend used to be probably the biggest nuance. There's no sense in spending any time on it because it's gone. You can't do it anymore, but that was a big claiming strategy. But Pam, if you're married, there's a lot of nuances still to it because you have a spousal benefit potentially, and then you got to think about legacy planning as far as if you are married, the higher of the two benefits continue on with the remaining spouse after one spouse is dead. Sure, you lose one benefit, but you keep the higher of the two. So that's a big deal. And people claiming it, quote unquote, too early because they think it's going to go away. I've heard that plenty of times, people claiming at 62, oh, I've been paying into my whole life, I'm going to go ahead and get mine now. Well, again, there's some math involved there. Obviously, no one knows when we're going to pass away. So it is an educated guess on when to claim it and when that quote unquote right time is. A lot depends on what your income needs are when you are going to retire. But again, if you are married, what other income sources do you have? What is your nest egg? But it could cost you, and I've seen studies that show it could cost you into the 6 figures over your lifetime if you don't claim it at the quote unquote right time. Again, we don't know that for certain, but if you claim it at 62 versus your full retirement age, and I'm going to just assume, Pam, that your full retirement age is 67. So if you claimed it 5 years early, the break even is your late 70s, like 78, 79 years of age, meaning if you claimed it at 62 and you live beyond your late 70s, well, you should have waited until 67 because you would have the higher benefit that continues on. If you took it at 62 versus 70, which is the latest you can claim it as of now, the break-even's around 81 years of age. So if you live beyond 81, you should have waited until you are 70. So again, it's a moving target. It's not an exact target or an exact science, but especially if you're married, there's definitely a legacy play here. So it's something to discuss and talk about with an advisor for sure.
All right. One last question today from Tim in Sandy Springs. I retired at 62 and now I'm 66 and realizing that I retired too early. I need to either significantly cut back on my expenses or go back to work part-time. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to implore your listeners to think through things before they retire. Do you hear this a lot, Ryan?
Not the ones we work with.
Right.
Not to say that it can't happen, but hopefully we had painted a clearer picture ahead of time. Now, if people are spending too much, we try to give them kind of a forewarning, like, hey, this is not how the plan was built. The plan was built for this, and you're spending this. That's not going to work forever. So just having that plan in place, I know it's not an exact science, but a plan is better than no plan. And Tim, I'm not saying you didn't have one, but I mean, that's a quick turnaround, 4 years, retiring at 62 and then realizing at 66, like, oops, I did that too early. So maybe just the expenses were higher than you thought, or, bridging that gap of health insurance between 62 and 65 before Medicare kicked in. Maybe that cost you a little bit more than you anticipated. So it's really just thinking through all those variables. And I know sometimes those variables are hard to know what's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, some people choose to go back to work because they want to, but knock on wood, I haven't had a client that's had to go back to work because they had to. Honestly, Tim, I would try to cut back on expenses first before you go back to work, but maybe just working part-time somewhere is you're fine with that. But most of the retirees that we work with, once they're in it, they're like, yeah, I'm not going back to work. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be on a schedule. I'm on my own schedule now. So I would start with cutting back expenses first.
And I'm sure this happens with people, Ryan, where they try to do it on their own, feel like they're in a good spot and then realize quickly within a few years that maybe I am not. And it's okay then still, if you haven't been working with an advisor, to actually sit down with an advisor and come up with a plan to make sure you are in good shape moving forward and what adjustments you need to make, right?
Yeah, because the financial planning software we use, I mean, it'll give percentages of success rate, and you can run like below average returns. You can change what your monthly expenses are going to be and raise those up and down, and just the percentages of success continually change based off the variables that you change as well. So you can try to paint a very doomsdayist picture, and what does that look like by spending too much money. Market rates of return are way less, but at least you have a whole gamut of below returns to above average returns where you kind of fall on your success rate of being able to retire, because it factors in those negative years. It doesn't paint a linear projection, and linear projections just, to me, don't work because our lives are not linear. We take out different amounts, whether that's more or less, and then rates of returns continue to go up and down. You can't just use an average 6% rate of return and just do that linear. It just doesn't work that way. There's got to be some down years painted in there too.
Take the time to meet with a financial advisor, and Ryan is a certified financial planner at Black Oak Asset Management. You can schedule a free consultation right now by visiting retireperfect.com. You'll see the link to schedule that call at retireperfect.com. You'll also be able to download or request a copy of the book, Diffuse Your Retirement Threats, and also get that toolkit that they put together. It's all at retireperfect.com. Plus the YouTube videos as well that Ryan works so hard on. You can always check out the channel at Black Oak Asset Management. All right, we'll close it out on that note. Ryan, as always, thanks for your time. Good luck on the next couple of weeks, and I look forward to again catching up next week.
Look forward to it.
Information provided is for informational purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or